License and registration, boy, now. You people always think the rules don't apply. The officer slams his fist on the hood so hard the metal dents, then yanks the driver's door open like he's raiding a drug house. A decorated retired police chief, 72 years young, dressed sharp in his Sunday suit, gets pulled over and treated like trash by a rookie who doesn't know respect. Mr. Clarence Thompson sits perfectly still, both hands visible on the wheel, voice calm but eyes burning with 40 years of authority he's choosing not to use, yet. This cocky officer, barely 28, badge shining too bright, smirk wide, crowd already forming on the Atlanta interstate shoulder, phones up, loving the show. But he had no idea he just pulled over the man who trained half the Georgia State Patrol commanders still on the force. Officer Derek Reynolds had been having the kind of day where everything felt like a win. 3 speeding tickets before noon. 2 warnings that made soccer moms cry. 1 towed Honda with expired tags. His quota was crushed, and his ego was soaring higher than the Georgia sun beating down on I-75. When he clocked the silver Bic La Crosse doing 68 in a 65, he didn't hesitate. Easy target. Old car. Older driver. Probably confused, probably slow, probably wouldn't even argue. He flipped his lights. The Bic pulled over immediately, no hesitation, no games, smooth and professional into the shoulder like the driver had done it 1,000 times. That should have been Reynolds' first clue. But he was too busy radioing in the stop, chest puffed, already imagining the lecture he'd give this grandpa about road safety. He stepped out of his cruiser, aviators on, thumbs hooked in his belt, walking like he owned the asphalt itself. The Bic sat quiet. Engine off. Hands visible on the wheel through the back window. Reynolds tapped his flashlight hard against the driver's window, 3 sharp cracks that made people 2 lanes over flinch. The window rolled down slow. And there sat Mr. Clarence Thompson. 72 years old but looked 60. Clean shaven. Charcoal gray suit tailored perfect. Crisp white shirt. Navy tie with a silver tie clip. Gold watch on his left wrist. Wedding band still shining after 48 years. His hands rested at 10 and 2 like he was teaching a driving class. Eyes forward. Calm. Steady. Reynolds saw none of that. All he saw was an old black man who probably couldn't see the speed limit signs anymore. License and registration, boy, now. You people always think the rules don't apply. Mr. Thompson blinked once. Slowly. Like he was giving Reynolds a chance to correct himself. He reached for the glove box, slow, deliberate, narrating every move. I'm reaching for my registration now, officer. It's in the glove compartment. Reynolds snorted. I didn't ask for a play-by-play, Grandad. Just hand it over. Mr. Thompson pulled out the registration, then his wallet, removing his license with the kind of precision that comes from muscle memory. He handed both through the window. Reynolds snatched them without a thank you, without a nod, without even looking at the man's face. He glanced at the name, Clarence E. Thompson. Address in Buckhead. Clean record on the registration. Should have been a warning and a smile. Instead, Reynolds smirked. Clarence, here? You know how fast you were going, Clarence? Mr. Thompson's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed level. I believe I was going 68, officer. You believe? Reynolds mocked, leaning down into the window. So you admit you were speeding? I was keeping pace with traffic, sir. Don't say me like we're buddies. Step out of the car. May I ask why? Wrong question. Reynolds slammed his fist on the hood so hard the metal dented, then yanked the driver's door open like he was raiding a drug house. I said out. The crowd that had been casually watching from their cars suddenly perked up. Phones started rising. Mr. Thompson stepped out slow, 6 feet 3 inches, shoulders back, every inch of him screaming authority even in silence. Reynolds didn't see it. Or didn't care. He saw a target. Hands on the hood, Grandad. You were doing 68 in a 65. That's reckless. I'm writing you every ticket I got. Mr. Thompson placed his hands on the hood, fingers spread. No resistance. No argument. Just compliance wrapped in dignity. And that made Reynolds even angrier. You think 'cause you're old I'ma let you slide? I own this highway. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Leave that man alone." Reynolds spun around, face red. "Mind your business or you're next." He turned back to Mr. Thompson, grabbed his ticket book, and hurled it to the ground at the old man's feet. "Pick it up." Silence. Mr. Thompson looked down at the book. Then back up at Reynolds. Said nothing. "I said pick it up." Still nothing. The officer's face twisted. He kicked the ticket book under the car. "Guess we'll do this the hard way." He reached for his cuffs. But this was only the beginning. Reynolds grabbed Mr. Thompson's wrist and twisted it behind his back, not enough to break, but enough to hurt, enough to humiliate. "Resisting, here? That's another charge." Mr. Thompson hadn't moved a muscle. The crowd erupted. "That's assault. He didn't do anything. Somebody record this." Phones were already up. At least a dozen angles. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Live. Reynolds didn't care. He shoved Mr. Thompson forward, chest first onto the hot hood of the Bic. The metal burned through the man's suit jacket. He patted him down rough, hands invasive, unnecessary, meant to demean. "Bet you voted for defund the police, huh boy? Bet you hate cops. Bet you think you're special." Mr. Thompson's breathing stayed even. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The way he used to teach rookies to stay calm under pressure. Reynolds found nothing. No weapons. No drugs. No warrants. Just a man in a suit. That should have been the end of it. Instead, Reynolds leaned in close, breath hot against Mr. Thompson's ear. "You don't talk much, do you? What's wrong, scared?" That's when Mr. Thompson finally spoke, voice low, steady, sharp as a blade. "Son, you need to take your hands off me right now." Reynolds laughed, loud, cruel, performative. "Or what, Pops? You gonna call your grandson on the force?" The crowd went silent. Mr. Thompson smiled for the first time. Small. Knowing. "No. I'm going to call your sergeant, who I promoted in 2009. Reynolds froze for half a second. Then laughed again, louder, trying to cover the flicker of doubt. "Sure you did, old man. Sure you did." What he didn't know was who was watching from the unmarked Tahoe 2 cars back. Captain James Washington had been heading home after a long shift supervising a DUI checkpoint near the airport. He was tired, hungry, ready to see his wife and kids. Then he saw the silver Bic getting pulled over. Didn't think much of it at first. Then he saw the officer yank the door open. Saw the crowd gathering. Saw phones going up. And then, he saw the driver step out. Captain Washington's heart stopped. That posture. That height. That suit. He pulled into the shoulder 2 cars back, killed his engine, and grabbed his phone. He started recording. Because the man being slammed onto that hood wasn't just any old man. That was Chief Clarence E. Thompson. The man who hired Washington 15 years ago. The man who stood beside him at his academy graduation. The man who taught him how to de-escalate a domestic violence call without drawing his weapon. The man who personally drove to the hospital when Washington's daughter was born premature and sat with him in the waiting room for 6 hours. And now some rookie punk was calling him boy. Washington watched Reynolds throw the tickets in Chief Thompson's face like confetti. Watched him reach for his cuffs again. Watched him tap his holster. He'd seen enough. Captain Washington stepped out of his Tahoe, 6'2" in full uniform, captain's bars gleaming, and walked toward the scene with the stride of a man about to end a career. Reynolds was still barking orders. "Now get on your knees and pick those up too." Mr. Thompson didn't move. Didn't blink. Reynolds stepped closer, hand resting on his holster now, finger tapping the grip like a threat. "I said on your knees, boy." A woman in the crowd screamed, "This is wrong. Somebody do something." Reynolds whipped around. "One more word and I'll tow this antique right here." He'd already called the tow truck 5 minutes ago. It was rolling up now, driver hopping out with chains ready, grinning like he just won a contract. The crowd looked helpless. Angry but scared. Phones still recording but no one stepping in. That's when the voice cut through the chaos like a sword. "Reynolds! Stand down!" Reynolds froze. Turned. Went pale. Captain Washington walked straight through the crowd, which parted like the Red Sea, every step deliberate, every inch of his uniform a reminder of rank and consequence. He stopped 3 feet from Reynolds, looked past him, and locked eyes with Chief Thompson. "Chief Thompson, sir. I apologize. I saw everything." Reynolds' mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. "Captain, this guy was—" "Shut your mouth." The crowd inhaled as one. Washington turned to the people still recording. "Everybody still filming? Good. Keep rolling. This is about to be evidence." Then back to Reynolds, voice cold enough to freeze blood. "You're done writing tickets today. Hand me your body cam. Now." Reynolds tried to laugh it off, voice shaking. "Captain, he's just an old—" Washington stepped nose to nose with him, close enough that Reynolds could see the fury trembling behind his professionalism. "That old man has more time on the job than you've been alive. He wrote the pursuit policy you're hiding behind right now. He trained half the command staff in this state. And you just humiliated him on camera in front of 50 witnesses." The tow truck driver suddenly wanted nothing to do with this. He climbed back in his cab, chain still dragging, and rolled out without a word. Reynolds was sweating now, hands shaking as he fumbled with his bodycam strap. "I didn't know. You didn't SK." Washington took the camera, clipped it to his own belt, and turned back to Chief Thompson, who was still standing tall, suit dusty but dignity intact. "Sir, are you hurt?" Mr. Thompson brushed off his jacket. "No, Captain. I'm fine. Do you want medical?" "No, son. I want you to let this young man finish what he started." Reynolds thought he just got a lifeline. His smirk started to come back. Big mistake. Washington stepped back but didn't leave. He pulled his radio. "Dispatch, this is Captain Washington, badge 217. I need IA and the colonel on scene, I-75 southbound, mile marker 242. We have an officer safety issue and possible civil rights violation in progress. Advise ETA." Dispatch came back cool and fast. "Copy, Captain. IA is en route, ETA 12 minutes. Colonel Hayes is also responding." Reynolds heard A and Colonel Hayes, and his knees nearly buckled. The crowd erupted in cheers. Someone yelled, "Get him!" Reynolds tried to grab the tickets back off the ground, scrambling like a kid caught cheating. "This is ridiculous. He's nobody. He was speeding. I was just doing my job." Washington didn't even look at him. He was watching Chief Thompson, whose face had shifted from calm to something else. "Pity." Mr. Thompson looked at Reynolds the way a father looks at a son who just made a terrible, irreversible choice. "Son, I buried officers who died wearing the same badge you just disgraced." His voice wasn't loud. Wasn't angry. Just sad. And somehow, that hit harder than any shout ever could. Reynolds tried to respond but his mouth had gone dry. "Be honest, what would you have done if you saw this happening to your father?" The 12 minutes felt like 12 hours. The crowd didn't leave. They stayed, phones still up, some streaming live, some texting family, some just standing as witnesses. Captain Washington stood between Reynolds and Chief Thompson, silent, arms crossed, a human wall of consequences. Reynolds kept pacing, muttering to himself, trying to build a defense in his head. He was speeding. I didn't know, this is entrapment." Washington finally spoke. "Reynolds, stop talking. Anything you say right now is being recorded by 40 people. Save it for your union rep." Reynolds looked around desperately. No backup. No friends. Just faces staring at him with disgust. He tried one more time. "Chief Thompson, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't mean." Mr. Thompson held up one hand. Gentle. Firm. "Son, don't apologize to me. Apologize to every person you've ever pulled over who didn't have a camera. Apologize to every citizen you've bullied who didn't have a captain show up. Apologize to the badge you just made look like a weapon instead of a shield." Reynolds had no answer for that. And just when he thought internal affairs was the worst thing coming, a black Suburban with state plates and blacked-out windows came screaming up the shoulder, lights hidden in the grille flashing red and blue. It stopped hard. Dust kicked up. The door opened. And out stepped Colonel Marcus Hayes, current commander of the Georgia State Patrol, 6'4", barrel-chested, gray at the temples, uniform so crisp it looked bulletproof. He'd been in a budget meeting in downtown Atlanta when Washington's call came through. He didn't send a lieutenant. Didn't delegate. He got in his truck and drove 90 miles an hour to get here himself. Because the name Chief Thompson wasn't just a name to him. It was a legend. Colonel Hayes walked straight past Reynolds like he was invisible. Stopped in front of Chief Thompson. And saluted. Sharp. Crisp. The kind of salute you give a superior, even retired. Chief Thompson. Sir. Mr. Thompson returned it, smile finally breaking through. Colonel Hayes. Good to see you, Marcus. Wish it were under better circumstances, sir. Then Hayes turned. And the temperature dropped 20 degrees. He looked at Reynolds the way a judge looks at a convicted felon. Officer Derek Reynolds, badge number 4728, you are hereby placed under arrest for assault on a citizen, official oppression under color of law, and violation of Department Policy 1.4, respect and dignity for all persons. Turn around. Hands behind your back. Reynolds' face went white. Sir, no, this is a mistake. Turn. Around. Reynolds didn't move. Hayes took one step forward. Reynolds spun and put his hands behind his back, shaking so hard the cuffs rattled when Hayes snapped them on. The crowd exploded. Cheering. Clapping. Crying. Someone shouted, "Justice!" Hayes walked Reynolds to his Suburban, opened the back door, and put him inside without another word. Then he came back to the crowd, pulled out his phone, and held it up. Everyone here, if you recorded any part of this interaction, please send your footage to this email address. It will be entered as evidence. Your names will be kept confidential unless you choose to testify. Officer Reynolds is suspended without pay effective immediately. His post-certification will be reviewed tomorrow morning. Thank you for being witnesses. He handed out business cards to 6 people, all of whom took them like they were gold. Then he turned back to Chief Thompson, and his whole demeanor softened. Sir, do you need anything? Water? A ride? Medical evil? Mr. Thompson shook his head. I'm fine, Marcus. Just want to go home to my wife. Hayes nodded. Understood. But before you do, can I ask what happened? Mr. Thompson told the story. Calmly. Precisely. No exaggeration. No emotion. Just facts. The crowd filled in the gaps. How Reynolds called him boy, threw the tickets, demanded he kneel, tapped his holster. Hayes' jaw clenched tighter with every word. When the story was done, he placed a hand on Chief Thompson's shoulder. Sir, I'm sorry. This doesn't reflect the department you built. And I'm going to make sure it never happens again. Mr. Thompson nodded. I know you will, son. That's why I trained you. Hayes smiled, just for a second, then got back to business. Captain Washington, ride with Chief Thompson back to his residence. Make sure he gets home safe. I'll handle the scene and the press. Washington nodded. Yes, sir. Hayes looked back at the Suburban where Reynolds sat cuffed in the back seat, staring at his own feet. And Marcus? Chief Thompson's voice stopped him. Yes, sir. Go easy on him. Hayes blinked, surprised. Sir. He's young. Stupid. Thought the badge made him powerful. But he can still learn. Don't destroy him. Teach him. Hayes stood there for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I'll try, sir. But after what he did to you. After what he did to me, I'm still standing. That's the lesson. Teach him that. Justice. 6 months later, the fallout was biblical. The footage went viral in 48 hours, 28 million views across platforms. News outlets from CNN to Fox picked it up. Headlines screamed, Retired Police Chief Humiliated by Rookie Cop, Body Cam Footage Exposes Abuse of Power, Georgia Officer Arrested After Viral Traffic Stop. Officer Derek Reynolds was fired within the week. His post-certification, revoked. He faced federal civil rights charges, and after a plea deal, received 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a lifetime ban from law enforcement. He tried to appeal. tried to claim he was just doing his job. The review board watched the bodycam footage in silence, then denied his appeal in 4 minutes. Atlanta PD settled with Chief Clarence Thompson for $850,000. He donated every penny to the Georgia Police Academy's scholarship fund, renamed the Dorothy Thompson Memorial Scholarship after his late wife, who'd passed 2 years prior. She always believed in second chances, he said at the press conference. This money will help train officers who understand that the badge is a privilege, not a weapon. The Georgia State Patrol overhauled their training program. Every new recruit now watches the full footage on day 1 of the academy, with the title, "This is How You Never Treat the Public." Chief Thompson was invited to speak at the graduation ceremony that year. He stood at the podium in his old dress uniform, medals across his chest, and looked out at 150 young faces. "You will have bad days," he told them. "You will deal with people who disrespect you, who challenge you, who test your patience. And in those moments, you'll have a choice, respond with power, or respond with principle. One makes you feared. The other makes you trusted. Choose trust. Every single time." He got a standing ovation that lasted 4 minutes. Captain Washington was promoted to deputy chief 6 months later. At his ceremony, he asked Chief Thompson to pin on his new rank. The photo of the two of them, one retired legend, one rising star, was framed in every Georgia State Patrol office in the state. Colonel Hayes personally wrote new policy language around respect, de-escalation, and accountability. It became the model for 6 other states. And Reynolds? Last anyone heard, he was washing cars at a detail shop in Alabama. Customers would occasionally recognize him from the video. Some refused service. Others just stared. He tried to reinvent himself online, posting apology videos, starting a podcast about accountability and redemption. It got 143 subscribers. The comments were brutal. He eventually disappeared from the internet entirely. But the story didn't end with Reynolds. It ended with Chief Clarence Thompson, standing in his driveway one Sunday morning, wearing the same charcoal gray suit, about to drive to church. A young officer, 22, fresh out of the academy, pulled up in a patrol car and stepped out, nervous. "Excuse me, sir? Are you Chief Thompson?" Mr. Thompson smiled. "I am." The officer's voice cracked. I just wanted to say thank you. I saw the video. I watched it in training. It changed how I see this job." Mr. Thompson walked over and shook his hand. Firm. Warm. "What's your name, son?" "Officer Malik Brown, sir." "You scared, Malik?" "Every day, sir." "Good. Fear keeps you humble. Humility keeps you human. Don't ever lose that." Officer Brown nodded, eyes wet. "I won't, sir." "And Malik?" "Yes, sir." "If you ever pull over a man in a suit going 3 miles over the limit, treat him like he's your grandfather. Because somebody's grandfather, he is." Officer Brown smiled. Saluted. Drove off. Mr. Thompson got in his Bic, started the engine, and pulled out onto the street. He didn't speed. Didn't need to. He had all the time in the world. His victory wasn't just personal. It reminded every black elder watching that your dignity doesn't retire when you do. That the same hands that once guided young officers can still correct them decades later. That respect isn't given because of a badge, it's earned through character, sacrifice, and the courage to stand tall even when the world tries to make you kneel. Chief Clarence Thompson never raised his voice once that day. He didn't have to. Because real power doesn't shout. It stands. It endures. And when the moment comes, it speaks. And the whole world listens. Stand tall, kings and queens. They'll learn your name one way or another. See you in the next one.